What's up, guys? Happy Tuesday. I am going to take some time to explain to you our next concept that we're going to be learning in civics, which is media and propaganda. So I'm going to go through a slideshow with you, kind of lecture a little bit, give you some visual examples, some verbal examples of how we see media and propaganda in our everyday lives and what it has to do with civics. So what I need from you guys is to go ahead and grab a plain sheet of paper and a pencil. I'm just going to have you write down a couple of things. I promise it's not going to be too much. These notes that you're taking is your assignment for today. At the end of this video, I'm going to ask you just a couple of really simple multiple choice questions that will prove to me that you watched the video. And that's it. That's your assignment for today. It shouldn't take you more than 15 or 20 minutes to complete this, and it's super easy. So grab a piece of paper and a pencil. We're going to go ahead and get started. Hope everybody is doing okay in our crazy quarantine days. You guys can tell I'm getting a little bored as my hairstyles get more and more extreme. So we're going to go ahead and start our slideshow. Hopefully by now you've got your pencil and your piece of paper out. All right, I'm going to share my screen with you to our PowerPoint. All right, so you are going to write down the definitions that you see today in red. At the top of your paper, I want you to write media and propaganda notes, okay? So you've got your piece of paper, and go ahead and write your title down. As you watch the video, you can pause it at any time to give yourself time to write down these definitions, and then you can hit play, and I'll continue to explain these concepts for you. And remember, you're going to take a really simple, just a couple question quiz at the end of the PowerPoint, just so I know that you watched this video. All right, so this is the standard that we're getting into today. It says Standard 7C211. It says Analyze Media and Political Communications. We're going to learn 3 words today, which is bias, symbolism, and propaganda. We're going to be using this term, or you're going to hear me talk about the media. First, I want us to get on the same page of what I mean when I say media. Guys, media is basically any form of communication. It can be TV shows. News is typically what you think of when you say the word media. Social media, right? Like Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Tumblr, like all of those little things that you see there in that image. That's actually forms of media. Newspaper, radio, any place that you get information typically is a form of media. So whenever we view or see, hear media, we're hearing information. Now, this is a very important skill, is to be able to recognize when that information has a certain perspective or point of view, and that's called bias, basically. So in this unit, I want you to be able to look at something, see something, hear something, and be able to point out what that bias might be, so we get the facts and true information from things that we view and experience. All right, so let's look at this word bias. It's going to be the first thing that you write down in your notes today. So you're going to write bias, dash, and then what you see here in red. Display a favor for or against someone or something. So it's basically when your own personal opinions affect what you feel about a topic. I'll give you an example. You guys see the picture there of FSU, the symbol of our mascot. I am biased towards FSU. If you ask me what the best college is in the state of Florida, I'm going to say Florida State University. Why? Because I'm biased towards FSU, right? I think that it's the best school because I went there, because I paid thousands of dollars in order to get a certificate that said I had a college degree, right? And took all of those courses and experienced life at Florida State. So that's my bias, right? Now, if you were to ask me, what is the best school, Ms. Ruchty, in the state of Florida? Isn't it important that you knew that I was biased towards FSU? Because now you understand that I have a perspective that might be influencing how I feel, right? The information that I have. So we want to know people's bias, and when the media is biased towards certain information, so we can get true info. So at this point, with all my blabbing, you should have written down those red words. As you can see on your notes, you should have written bias, display of favor for or against someone or something. Here's another example, right? If you were to ask someone your favorite soda, we can see that bias is being displayed in this image. So I want you to think of, if someone shared this photo on their Instagram or on their Facebook or whatever, what would their bias be? Think about that. I want you to kind of answer that in your head. All right, see if you're on track with my thinking. The bias in this photo is Coca-Cola is the best soda. So that would be recognizing that bias. Okay, let's see if you can recognize this bias. It says the good, the bad, and the ugly. If I have any college football fans, then this might be a little bit easier for you. But what this is showing is bias towards FSU, because it's saying that they're two rivals, University of Miami and UF, University of Florida, are less superior than Florida State, which would be the good. So we're seeing bias in this image. Another word that we need to write down in our notes, so right now you guys are going to write symbolism right here, dash, using symbols to send a message or prove a point. So symbolism is used a lot of times in advertisements, but you also see it in all different forms of media, like the news, like in TV shows, in movies, on social media. It's whenever we use symbols or even characters to represent something else or to prove a point. So everybody, I bet, recognizes the symbol there on the left. That we all think of recycling when we see that. So that image or that symbol means something besides green arrows going in a circle. It means to recycle. So that's a really good example of symbolism. So make sure you write down that definition. All right, and the last concept that we're going to talk about today is this idea or this concept called propaganda. So propaganda, a really simple definition, is a media with a purpose. It can be a commercial, it can even be a movie, a poster, a sign, a billboard, an advertisement is a perfect example of propaganda. It is media with a purpose. It's trying to get you to, in this case, join the U.S. Army. It's trying to get you to buy Coca-Cola instead of Dr. Pepper. Propaganda is when you view something and it makes you feel a certain way. It is media with a purpose. So let's read the official definition that's on the slide. Communication aimed at influencing public attitudes or opinions towards some cause or position. Guys, it is election season, right? We have the Democratic Party going through their Democratic primaries. We're going to have a presidential election in November. You're about to, if you're not already, seeing a ton of political ads. Political ads, they're propaganda. They're trying to have you view something and get you to vote a certain way. It is so important that we as U.S. citizens and potential voters one day are able to recognize when we're seeing propaganda. What if somebody was just going through their everyday life, seeing political ads, and not understanding that that could be biased for or against something? So that's why this is super important. We are voters, and whenever we vote, it's going to have a huge impact in the way that our government functions. So when we make decisions like who we vote for or something we vote against, we want to make sure that we're informed with facts and not opinions. So that's why recognizing propaganda and bias is so, so important. All right, let's take a look at some examples. Feeding kids meat is child abuse. Fight the fat, go veg, PETA.org. So, is this propaganda? Yes or no? I want you to think in your head. Yes, it is propaganda. It's trying to make you do something, or in this case, not do something. So I want you to think of what is the bias being shown here in this photo. What is the perspective or the opinion of the person that made this image or this poster? I want you to think about that. What is the opinion of the person that made this photo? So the opinion of the person that made this photo is that eating meat is bad, right? That you should be a vegetarian. So that's propaganda. It's trying to have you look at that poster and think, ooh, I shouldn't eat meat. I should be a vegetarian. Here's another example of some historical propaganda. It says, we are saving you, you save food. Well-fed soldiers win the war. We're going to see a lot of examples of historical propaganda during World War I, World War II, and the Cold War coming up. All right, let's recap with this kind of question. It says, invest your money with Uncle Sam. Uncle Sam, guys, is an idea of its symbolism. Uncle Sam was a character. He's the person in the I want you to join the U.S. Army. He represents what? The U.S. government. So that's an example of symbolism. So invest your money with Uncle Sam. Join the crowd. Buy a Liberty Bond. So what is this? What type of communication? Is it A, accurate, B, biased, C, informational, or D, propagandized? That's a tough word to say, but it essentially means propaganda. So I know it's not A and I know it's not C, so I'm going to cross those two out. I think that the answer is going to be B, biased, or D, propagandized. Now let's think of the definition between the two. Bias is a display of favor for or against something. Okay. Propaganda, though, is when media is biased for the purpose of you to do something. It's media with a purpose. It's trying to convince you to do something or to feel a certain way. So I want you in your head to try to think what your answer would be. And in like 5 seconds, I'm going to tell you what it is. All right. The answer is D, propagandized. And the reason it's not bias is because with propaganda, it's very similar to bias. It has bias, but it's trying to get you to do something. So in this example, it's trying to get you to buy a Liberty Bond. So it's like an example, which is basically when you would loan the U.S. government money. And they needed that, especially in times of war and crisis. So the answer is D. It's an example of propaganda. All right, you guys, you made it to the end of the video. Congratulations. What I'd like for you to do is write down the secret word that I'm about to show you. It is going to be an answer to one of your multiple choice questions. Secret word is firefly. So on Edsby, there's a little multiple choice quiz. You're going to go through that quiz. You're going to use your notes, guys, that you just wrote down. You're going to answer the questions using your notes. And the last question will have you click on the secret word. And that proves to me you made it to the end and you watched the whole video. I hope you have the best Tuesday of your life. Message me on Edsby if you have any questions. Miss you guys terribly. Have an awesome day, and I'll be in touch later this week.